Welcome to the next Facebook Live. Welcome to I Will Survive and Thrive as a Professional Coach. For those of you that already heard my who already heard my song, I just want to let you know I won't be singing today. So there will be no songs. If I could, I would make Johnny sing I Will Survive, but I didn't tell him in advance. He said no time to practice. So for those of you that are here and are new, my name is Freyer-Jones, and I am a professional coach and facilitator, and I run the CFJ Coaching Success School. It is a school for coaches that assists them in growing their business, one of the most vital things a coach needs to know how to do. And so many of us don't really learn how to do it. Certainly not, most certification programs don't cover it in depth. The only way I learned it was from my coach, Steve Chandler. And then I want to introduce and share a little bit about Johnny Roman, who you can now finally see. He is the amazing director of the CFJ Coaching Success School. He is also an outstanding coach in his own right. He was in the school for 2 years. He was one of my toughest students. He was always giving me a hard time. But he's really successful now. So it worked, right? He finally allowed me to beat him up enough to have it work. So maybe he'll share a little bit when I ask him a question or two. Let me share what's going to happen today. So today we're going to talk about what does it look like to be a thriving coach? What are the top practices that thriving coaches do to create thriving, right? And my definition of a thriving coach is a coach who is earning the level of income they want to be earning. They're serving the clients that they want to be serving. Their practice is at the size they want it to be. They are executing the creative ideas that they have, whether that's a unique group, whether that's retreats, whether that's one-day offerings, whether that's longer programs for an individual. But a thriving coach is doing the things that they want to be doing and earning the money they want to be earning and serving the way they want to be serving. And they know how to do that. So a thriving coach knows how to create the clients that they want to create. They're not terrified at the idea of it, right? Fear is not running the show for a thriving coach. So that's my definition of a thriving coach. You may have a different one. Let me talk a little bit about a surviving coach. So a surviving coach might have some of the tools to create a client, but they're sort of in this still anxious, desperate mode. And what I mean by that is they realize their bank account's getting low and they go, oh my gosh, and their heart starts to palpitate and they go, oh no, I need to get a client. And there's sort of this dread, right? I think Johnny's giving me a look of, yes, sometimes he remembers the dread of oh my gosh, I need a client. Am I going to be able to do it again? Is it all it's a big hoax? I did it once and I'll never be able to do it again. So a thriving coach has ease. A thriving coach has ease. Now, ease doesn't come easy. Hey, that was good. I didn't even plan that one, people. Ease doesn't come easy. So what do I mean by that? It's we need to practice. Creating ease is a two-sided game. Ease is, do I have internal ease with how I relate to my business, with how I relate to the growth of my business? And then there's external ease. Do I have ease when I'm connecting? Or do I feel like a Martian, right? Am I constantly oh gosh, I'm getting it wrong. I feel awkward and yucky, right? If I'm constantly feeling self-conscious, that doesn't equal ease, right? And I get it, especially when we're at the beginning. Self-consciousness is part of the process. So I'm not here to be you're new, you should feel amazing all the time. It doesn't work like that. You can have a goal of ease though. You can have if I do this enough, if I practice enough, ease will come. And I am here to tell you, Johnny will give his thumbs up. With enough practice, ease does come. Because, I'll share, Johnny for a while, right, had awkwardness and felt clunky and, was uncomfortable and had the self-conscious thing going on. And he doesn't have that anymore. In fact, at last year's school, he shared his story, and it was so profound to hear what's changed for him in that context, right? The ease at which he got up in front of the room, in front of 50 coaches, some on Zoom, some live, and shared his story with such strength. I was like, wow, it was so fun to watch. And that was not the Johnny who first came into the school back in, what was it, Johnny? That was in, how many years ago now?
2019.
2019. Okay. So we're at 2022. Okay. So look, you could sit there and go, oh my gosh, but 20, 21, 22. So to me, Johnny's the average, right, of what does it take to walk through the green and clunky awkward phase into more ease. I would put it at anywhere from 1 to 3 years, depending on who you are and depending on how much practice you put in. Right? And that means practice isn't always done alone in a dark room by ourselves. So practice is done with real people where we are out in the world connecting and serving. So I share that so that we know, right? I'm all for practicing alone in a mirror. I mean, when Michelle Bauman and I, my business partner, we're going to do our first events, Steve would say, practice. Like, you need to get up and practice this opening so that you have it down to such a level where you don't have to even think about it. So practicing alone has its place. And then there's the practicing of getting on the court with real people and seeing what that's like and having the experience of all that internal disturbance, if you will, like that you can actually tolerate it and still be with people and serve them. I'll give you a great example, and then I'm going to open it up a little bit to some questions, and then we're going to go to like the top practices of a thriving coach. So, here are Johnny and I. We're testing out this new app that allows everybody to see Johnny, and that he and I can do this a little bit differently. We were like, is it going to work? We hope so. We're like, oh man, people are hearing Johnny twice. That's a drag. Now, was I nervous? Yeah, I don't love that. I'm not like, yay, I like knowing it's all going to work perfectly. And I'm okay with it being a little uncomfortable. I've learned to tolerate things being uncomfortable, especially when I'm doing something new. So that is a requirement to be in this profession. We can't try new things and be unwilling to feel uncomfortable. It won't work. All new things tend to be uncomfortable in this profession, whether it's having a conversation for the first time, your first complimentary event, your first group, right? Your first individual clients, the setup, it all creates a little bit of discomfort. Tolerating discomfort is really a requirement as we are in this profession. Now that changes over time, right? Like, I'm a lot of years in, I don't feel that quite as much, but I still do. I felt it today. Johnny said to me, wow, I'm glad you're like, okay with, I said, it's uncomfortable. It's like, I joke with him that this is like the wild, wild west. Facebook Lives are like the wild, wild west. I'm like, it's uncomfortable. It's kind of ridiculous. And I kind of like it all at the same time. Because it's like, how can I make this fun, right? How can I make even this fun? So that is always something that I'm attempting to do, even if it's like a potential quote unquote failure, right? Like if Johnny and I said, okay, we get on there and it's a mess, we're going to shut it down and go to the old Facebook Live. And he was like, yep, that's what we're going to do. So there's always a way to work with whatever's happening. So I want to make sure, I want everyone to know anything I'm saying that you have a question about, throw it in the chat. If I don't catch it, Johnny will, and he will alert me to it, right? So he's going to let me know, hey, so-and-so asked a question. So I want to make sure, feel free to ask questions as they appear for you. And today, your questions can be about, what are you not doing that's creating less than thriving, right? What are you not doing? So I'm going to talk a little bit, and we'll see what you come up with. So one of the top practices of a thriving coach, I was thinking about it over the last 48 hours, is consistency. So I'm going to repeat that. One of the top practices of a thriving coach is consistency. So you may be going, well, what does that mean? Like, I'm consistently terrified? No, you might be, but that's not what I mean. What I mean by consistency is that you are consistently showing up for your business. So I'm going to be straight here. My experience in this business of coaches, both new ones, newer, and then even middle of the road, like they've been at it 3 to 5 years, many of us are not consistent. It's like, I'm consistent unless I'm tired. So I'm not going to do that today. I'm consistent unless my good friend's in town. So I don't want to send invites because my friend's going to be in town for like 4 days. And what if I send an invite and they answer me? I don't want it, right? I'm consistent unless I don't feel so great, right? So I'm going to address this, right? So, I'm not suggesting if you're have a bad flu or COVID deflect, right, that you're not going to take care of yourself, right? However, my experience is that a lot of us can fall into this trap of like, oh, I'm really drained from the last couple days. I need time to restore, to rejuvenate. That does not lead to thriving in this business. It just doesn't. Now, I'm not talking about if you're here and you're like, hey, I'm already at $250K a year. Once we're at that level, it's like you can not be consistent and still be able to create that. You can absolutely, because you know when to turn it up, the flame, and when to turn it down, and your baseline is really strong. When we don't have a strong baseline of clients and income, consistency is everything. And that means some of you already asked for the handout from last week. It's like, are you consistently on the court creating conversations, right? So if you're like, I don't know what to do with my time, creating conversations is what you need to be doing with your time. That means connecting with people. That means serving people, sending them resources, finding out what's going on in their world, finding out how you can help. So you can't do that for a couple days for 2 weeks in a row and then get off the court for 2 weeks, right? Because that's what happens, right? I see it because I work with coaches in the school, right? And it's like, oh, 2 weeks went by and I didn't really do anything. 2 weeks is a lot when we have no baseline, right? Or we don't have the baseline we want. 2 weeks of like not showing up for our business, it's a lot. So if you're going to take anything away from today, start to look at where are you not being consistent in showing up for your business. One of the things I love, Steve Chandler has said this for a long, long time. So full credit. So he talks about like when you work at the post office, you can't like just decide not showing up. Like, I'm not going to show up today. Yeah, I just don't. I got too much else going on. I need to handle these errands. I need to go like do this thing. I'm not going to show up, right? We'd get fired. We'd be bye-bye. See you later, right? So and this is the challenge with this profession. I love this profession. It requires a lot of self-initiative, right? That's why I've had a coach for 15 plus years. That's why Johnny has a coach. That's why the school exists, because coaches do better when they're in environments where there's a container of accountability, right? So Cynthia, I saw you wrote, my consistency is a critical opportunity, right? So I'm not shocked. I'm not like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with Cynthia? Like, what is wrong with her? That is not where I go. I go, well, yeah, especially if we don't have a place that's pushing on us to go, hey, how many emails did you send this week? Hey, how many invitations have you sent? Hey, right? It's like as soon as I start to talk to people about like, well, let's look. I want to see, right? To a coach. Tell me like how many conversations you have on your calendar. For some people, that's so confrontive. It's like, oh my gosh, you want to know? Like, you want to see into my world? Yeah. Because when we work at the post office, people see into our world. They know if we've processed stuff, right? This is the same thing. That's the other piece that I love about what Steve says. It's like, this is an amazing profession. We get to serve people and help them transform their lives. And it's not very glamorous. People think it's glamorous, right? Like, because that's how social media can make it look, the blow dryer on my hair as I'm walking on the beach. Look at me with my amazing life. My hair looks amazing. My feet are in the sand. My toes are perfectly, like, I have the best pedicure on the planet. I don't think it's real. It's not real in my world a lot of the time, right? It's like, that's fake. That's like a moment in time. It's like, this is not a glamorous job in the context of consistency. Isn't probably for many people, it's like, is consistency sexy? It is to me. I'm like, is it cool? It's like, I think consistency is cool because look at what it leads to. I know what it's led to in my life and in my business. So you might want to think about, how do I make consistency in my life the brass ring? How do I make consistency in my business the muscle that I need to work on, right? And we do it like just a teeny bit at a time. So it's like, Cynthia, for you, you might look at like, where can I add 5% more consistency to growing my business? Right? Like, okay, can I spend 20 minutes a day sending out 2 new emails each day? Or just a connection email where I say to someone, hey, Carolyn, I've been thinking about you. How is that going? Right? It's true. I love what Cynthia is saying. So I forget the simplicity of what you are coaching as the fundamental process for creating a business. So how many of you can relate to that? If you can, just say yes, in the chat, so Cynthia knows she's not alone, right? It's so not glamorous. You're all probably like, this is not like the disco party Carolyn promised me on Instagram, right? And Facebook. I promised you a disco party and I'm talking about consistency. Like, that is not fun. I think consistency can be fun because I like what occurs when I'm consistent with myself in my life. Look at that. Look at all the yeses you're getting, Cynthia. Way to go. And I love when a coach says to me, like, what do I need to do? And I say to them, well, let's look at what you've been doing. Like, are you connecting? Are you inviting? And they look at me like, you just gave me the most boring answer. Like, I can see the disappointment, like, in their eyes. They're like, Carolyn is giving me, I don't want that answer. That's not a cool, like, awesome, sexy answer. I'm like, I know you want to make reels and you want to like do fun stuff, although some people don't find that fun either. It's all in the connecting. It's all in the responding to emails. It's all in the sending notes to people. It's all in that. So consistency is one of the top practices of thriving coaches, okay? And it can also mean that if you're further along in your business, in the context of, am I consistently answering my clients' emails within 24 hours or less? Am I consistently thinking about my clients and thinking of not necessarily new ways to serve them, but deeper ways to serve them, right? Deeper ways. So I'll give you an example. I have a client who recently lost her parents, both of them pretty quickly within a very short amount of time of each other. And so, when I'm in that situation with a client, it's like, I just make myself available. Like, the idea of not texting me goes away. I'm like, I am available to you. And it was while each of them were in the dying process. I was like, you want to text me about what's happening? Text me about what's happening. You want to call me? Like, we'll do spot calls every day, right? So to me, that's my own version of serving more deeply at a critical time in a client's life. You might have your own. I'm certainly not saying there's only one way to serve deeply. I can say that given Steve Chandler is my coach, I've probably went through two big things in my own business in the last 2 years. And very similarly, he was like, you need me, call me. I would be like, I need to talk to you today. This just happened, 10 minutes. This just happened. I mean, I don't remember the last time we talked every day for almost 2 weeks straight. I'm thinking about this. How would you handle this? This is happening. Here's what I'm thinking, and all the internal stuff that was happening. So consistency of service, consistency of connection, consistency of invitations. It's the path to having a strong baseline in your business. It's what thriving coaches do, even the ones who don't tell you, who look amazing on their social media, right? It's like they're doing something to create consistent work in their lives. All right. So, Eric, exactly. Eric Woodard just said the Grand Canyon was made with consistency, right? It's like, absolutely. So many things were made with consistently, with showing up every day over and over and doing the same thing over and over again, right? And that's kind of the hidden secret that no one really talks about. Like, we're doing the same thing over and over again. Now, are we personalizing it? Are we slowing down to meet someone where they are? Absolutely. I love it because every person is so different, right? I love that. But it's like we have to get to the reality, as is reality is what we do is we do the same thing over and over again. We might do it in a million different ways. But if we are not consistent, we will not get to the baseline that we want. All right, so let's talk about the next one, which I did a little video on yesterday. The video where I shared that one of the top practices of a thriving coach is a willingness to experiment, a willingness to be creative. I think I also said a willingness to get messy. Now, for each of you, that could look really different, right? Like for you, what you could do is sending an invite might feel like a huge experiment. And you need to run the experiment. You know, when I'm working with new coaches in the school, right, the first invitations can feel like kind of a nightmare. I mean, I think it was Diana Towder, who's here. I don't know if it was an invitation. I think it was when I said she hadn't heard back from someone. And I was like, okay, so you need to send the question mark email. And she was very like skeptical. She was like, really? Really? You really send an email with a question mark in the subject line? And she wasn't even willing to just take my word for it. She was like, I said, why don't you post in the school private page and just say, hey, like, what's the deal? Is this like, does it really work? People are not outrageously offended. And they were, and people were like, yes, you know, absolutely. But Diana was like, Carolyn, I'm not convinced, right? To her, that felt like such an uncomfortable experiment, especially if we have a lot of social self, like, ooh, that might bother someone in their inbox. Like that, they might feel a little like, who are you to send me an email again 3 days later, right? If we have any of like, what will they think of me kinds of things, social self, those experiments are going to feel more uncomfortable than for someone who's like, oh no, I get it. I'm totally fine resending. Just show me how to do it, right? Some people from other business worlds, from other kinds of things, they're fine. So for those people, running an experiment might be raising fees if your fees have been really low and you've consistently gotten clients with a super low fee, but you know it's time to raise your fees. That can feel like a wildly uncomfortable experiment. I think Kyle's here. I think Kyle's gone through lots of phases with his fees, and the experimenting has felt uncomfortable. And learning to tolerate uncomfortable is one of the top jobs of a coach. And I can tell you that thriving coaches, the ones who've been doing it a while, they're like, okay, uncomfortable, that's the way. I'm going to feel uncomfortable. They don't make uncomfortable wrong. They don't make uncomfortable bad. because what they're more interested in is what it might create, what the experiment might result in. It might result in a new connection. It might result in someone being served in a way they'd never imagined, right? It's like, I had not done Facebook Lives. I think last year might have been the first year. I don't remember. I mean, it's not like I was comfortable. It's like, it means I have to speak. I can't even hear you all. Like, you're all in a box, just pounding away. And I don't know, is this any good? I really was like, this, hope it's okay. I'm in a big echo chamber here. I was uncomfortable. But see, for me, and this is just how I roll, like, it's sort of fun. Like, if you can live on the edge of uncomfortable and fun, that's a great place to be. Now, for some of you, you may be like, that's not fun, Carolyn. It's terrifying. It makes me sweat. And then I don't look good. And then I can't serve because I'm just a mess. All good. I'm not asking you to pull out a Facebook Live if you've never done it before. You're going to need to decide, what's my experiment over the next week, right? So we're going to be together next week. Today, I'm going to ask that you decide, what's your experiment in your business? Is it sending out a few more invites than what you have? Is it sending out an invite at all? Is it connecting with someone that you've been thinking about but have been like, they don't, they're not going to want me to connect with them. They're going to think all the things we make up. You decide what your experiment is. But if you're going to come to the Facebook Lives, I don't want you here just trying to see how great Johnny and I look. Like, oh, wow, they're fun to look at, right? That I don't want looky-loos. I want coaches who are going to practice stuff, right? If we're going to do this, we want you to work a little. So before we complete today, I want you to put in the chat, like, what is your experiment going to be? Is it going to be connecting with someone or some people you've been thinking about? Is it going to be, maybe it's going to be scheduling an event that you've been thinking about but haven't done yet, right? So Johnny, you might, I don't know if you can actually, I don't know if you're able to put in the chat the other kinds of experiments. Oh, okay, and Rita, in my case, experimenting means inviting people of higher caliber. All right, so that's fantastic. And Rita, thank you for sharing that. I love that. Yes, I can relate to that. I remember there was a point at which Steve said to me and Michelle, you need to switch up your pool of people. The pool of people you are pulling from no longer makes sense, given both your fees and where you've gotten to in your practice, right? And that was uncomfortable because it meant I needed to do an upgrade. I needed to do an upgrade of how I saw myself as a coach, and I needed to do an upgrade in terms of the kinds of people I was connecting with, right? So, Amrita, I think it's great that that's your experiment. And I have a question for you. Have you run it yet? Have you actually started connecting with people that are in a different professional game, let's say? So I want to know, have you tried it? Are you still too uncomfortable? Fill us in. Allison, like a lot of coaches, my journey has been to date a dual track. Now feeling the squeeze. Any tips on making the shift to full-time coach? Oh, Allison, boy, are you in the right group. I think DDA is here watching and has joined us. DDA is a coach in the school who is in exactly that situation. So I had a full-time job. I was working at the University of Santa Monica. I was working as the head of admissions and marketing. And my secret night job was being a coach. So my secret night job, and I would have one or two clients where I would like coach them in my bathroom, right? Because I had a 1-bedroom. My husband was like in the bedroom with our daughter who was a baby. So, and here's what Steve said to me and to Michelle, who also had a full-time job. He said, you want your night job to drown out your day job. Has to drown it out. So what does that mean? So I had to get to the place where I literally probably had 5 individual clients and my full-time job. And Michelle and I were doing these groups for women where once a month we were running this group, this like 3-month, 4-month group called, it was like creating your inspired life. I might not have that right, but it was something like that. My life was a little nuts. So Allison, one of the things you got to be willing to consider is like, if you want to get that full-time coaching ramp, there's going to be this point at which you have a lot of individual clients, plus you have your full-time job, and you might have other stuff you're doing, children, elder care, whatever it is. I had to let it get really full, because what happened then was I was able to go, okay, I've created 5 individual clients. Steve could say to me, once you get to a certain point, it's not that, did I know it was going to work out? Did I know that I could create 10 clients or 12 clients, which is what I wanted and needed? I didn't know it, but I had evidence. One client is not enough evidence for most people to leave their full-time job. It's just not. Some who have higher risk tolerance, they're like, great, I'm in, I got this. Not everybody has that. Most people don't. I didn't. Michelle did not. So you need to get on the court with making it uncomfortable for yourself. And that's called, I need to create more clients so that I have at least enough evidence. And to me, evidence is 4 to 5 individual clients where your life feels nuts and you're like, okay, I did this. If I can create 5, I can create 10. And if I can create 10, I can eke out a living that maybe somewhat matches what I was making. And I will share what I did very specifically. So I finally quit my job, left my job, and I had an agreement with myself that within every month I was going to be making more money. So that by 3 months of being a full-time coach, I would match what I was making at the University of Santa Monica. Now, in full transparency, I wasn't earning 6 figures at the University of Santa Monica. That's just not how those jobs rolled in that school. So Michelle would joke like, it's easy for you. Because Michelle was making $200K and she had to replace that. And she did. And I can tell you, she did it by getting way on the court. Like she was like, I'm not messing around. I have my children's education. My husband's relying on me to contribute almost equally, if not more at that point, maybe. So she was like, I'm all in. So she got a coach. She was in Steve's school with me. She was like, I'm doing this. She was not willing to accept a world where she made less than she did as a lawyer. So Allison, you'll let me know if that feels helpful to you at all. So let us know. Heidi, good to see you. All right. Let me share what DDA said, which I think is so great. Thank you, DDA. Setting a routine. Contact 2 new exciting people a week. Have at least 1 conversation a week with a new prospect. I love that. That's a fantastic routine and experiment. So bravo. Heidi. My experiment is to finally reach out to an old colleague I see as a potential client that has been on my list for months. I keep waiting because I have been so attached to coaching him and his team of leaders that I've let fear get in my way. Shout out to Heidi. Say yes if you've been there, you've been attached, and the attachment has stopped you from reaching out to serve someone. If that's happened to you, if it's like almost like, oh, I like it better in my imagination. In my imagination, they will remain a possibility, right? In my imagination, this person is so great and they really want to work with me in my imagination. What if I find out that's not true? Ugh, I don't want that. I'll just keep them up here in my imagination, right? So Heidi, bravo to you, because to me, coaching practices don't get created in our imaginations. It's not really to me. It's like newsflash for everyone. Coaching practices do not get created in our imaginations and in our minds. They get created in physical world reality. This is a phrase that I've worked with a lot. The universe rewards action, not thought. I'm going to repeat that one because that's a really important one. The universe rewards action, not thought. So some of you are all up in here thinking about all the things you want to do, and there's not enough action. It's like your coaching practice is getting built in your mind, not in the real world. So you want to ask yourself, if this resonates, if you're like, I'm one of those people, you want to ask yourself, okay, what is me getting into action consistently going to look like? What is it going to look like? All right. Johnny, I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to see how irritating it is for people when you speak. And if it is, he'll cut it short, because if there's this echo thing, that's going to be a bummer. We know that. But I'm going to ask him, and I want to say, like, what, you have such a great story as a professional coach. And I'm curious, when you hear me talk about consistency and willingness to experiment, what do you feel like turned things for you, where you were more willing, where the getting consistent became a higher priority than the discomfort?
Well, first of all, let's see how I'm coming through. I think, well, yeah, anyway, type in the chat if it sounds too distracting, if there's too much of an echo. For me, the real shift was shifting to a focus of service, where it became more valuable knowing that me reaching out to someone and connecting with someone was me being of service to them. And that was way more valuable and important than the discomfort that I was feeling. And so as I thought about, oh, well, who could I serve as opposed to who can I get as a client, that really shifted things for me pretty dramatically. So
okay,
it became a lot easier. It was less about the discomfort and more about the service.
I love it. So I want to highlight that, what Johnny just said, right? So for him, and like Johnny, would it be fair to say that the discomfort you had at different times was like decibel 10? Decibel 10?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So Johnny finally turned a corner where serving others mattered more to him than the discomfort. And I want to highlight that, because in a way that's going to lead us to the third top practice of thriving coaches. Thriving coaches are more interested in making a difference in the world than they are in anything happening inside of them. So thriving coaches are more interested in making a difference in the world than they are in any of their own stuff. Nervousness, discomfort, awkwardness, greenness, right? Like if we all waited until we like felt amazing, I'm confident and I'm this and I'm that, none of us would serve. No difference would be made. And when I say make a difference in the world, I don't mean that many coaches get caught up in, I want more people. I want to make a big difference. And I'm like, can we just start right where we are? Can I make a difference right in this person in front of me? I want to share about this amazing person that came into my world not that long ago. She's essentially a coach. She doesn't really call herself that. Her name is Teepa Snow. Teepa Snow is a dementia rock star coach. Now you may be like, what is that? Dementia coach? So she is one of the top dementia experts in the United States. But if you saw her, you would not think that, right? She is like older woman, hair back in a ponytail, t-shirt and jeans. And she has created this work that is changing the ways people care for people with dementia. Now you're like, why do you even know this, Carolyn? Because my mother-in-law has dementia. And remember, I love great like I want to see great coaching. I'm so fascinated by great coaching. So this woman her name was given to us, and we started watching her videos. And I was like, who is this person? Like her skill level on connecting and building relationship, which is really the number one thing we all need to know how to do, is off the charts. Now, she's not just doing it with families. She's doing it with nursing homes. She's doing it with individuals with dementia. I mean, it's extraordinary to watch her. So long story short, we ended up asking her if she would come to this very rural part of Maine and do a workshop for a handful of caregivers and family members who are dealing with people with dementia. And she said, sure, I'll come. She goes all over the country. She's up there, and it's my husband's family and another family that are the primary families that are getting coached, plus some people in the community. In between the workshop, which is, like most of us know, 2 days, 9 to 5, she meets my husband's mom, goes to the house, spends time, meets the other person's family, finds out what's happening, connects with these people within like 10 minutes. The workshop's happening. The other family's parent is like having something go on. Teepa goes over, and my husband calls me and he says, Teepa is giving so-and-so's parent a bath right now. And I said, what? He said, yeah, she's giving so-and-so's parent a bath. I was like, are you kidding me? I was so moved by her willingness to be of service. I mean, like, we want to talk about of service, right? And then she went back. The parent had a fall. She went back over that night and she was like, let me see what's happening here. She wasn't off at 5 o'clock at night when she was up there. She wasn't off. She went and met with people in the community. She wanted to know how they're dealing with different kinds of elder situations. I mean, and then I had the luxury of having a 10-minute conversation with her. And I just said, what you do is extraordinary. Like, I'm so moved. And she said, I found my own little corner of the world. And I said, well, you've really made a difference up there. She goes, well, I've shaken some trees. We'll see what happens, right? The humbleness, the willingness to do whatever it takes to make a difference. We all could learn something from that, right? It's like, so she wasn't off. She wasn't like, I need a break. Don't talk to me. Now, that doesn't mean someone else might say, I need a break. But her service consciousness was huge, huge. So I offer that as something for us to all consider. It's like, am I willing to make a difference regardless of whether or not I'm going to make any money, right? Steve Chandler has always said, if we serve enough without ever making a proposal, eventually someone is going to say to us, how do I do this with you? How can I work with you? That we never have to make a proposal. We really don't. And I've challenged coaches in the school who are super proposal heavy, right? They're making proposals like every 4 seconds. They're jumping ahead and they're not slowing down and serving. And there was one coach I did that with. I was like, new assignment. You are not to make any proposals over the next month. None. And he was like, are you, what? He was so uncomfortable. He came to the mid-month call and he was like, it's changed everything. It's changed everything because I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about serving the person. I'm not thinking about when do I make the proposal and what will I say and what will they say back and what will they think of it. That was all gone. So for some of you, it might mean backing off of that. Backing off of proposal making and making it about like getting a client. And as Johnny said, just being 100% in service to the person in front of you and putting that aside. So let's slow it down and see, is what I'm sharing helpful? Because remember, I'm in an echo chamber here. Johnny and I are in a bubble. Tell us if this is useful, right? Tell us like, what do you want? Like, what would be helpful to get you more engaged in these top 3 practices, right? So we already heard from Johnny, one of the things that was getting in his way that he stopped getting in his way, discomfort. Serving took a higher priority than his own discomfort, right? So that's a requirement. We can't be so focused on ourselves and how we look and how we sound and how I'm coming off. Can't really be of service. If Teepa was like, are they going to think it's weird if I say I'll come over and then I offer to bathe their parent? Are they going to like be like, get out of here? That wasn't even a thought in her mind, right? So let us know. I want some questions. Tell me somebody who's got a question about service, who's got a question about consistency, who's who's playing small in becoming a thriving coach, right? So let's see if we can make some things happen right while we're together today. I'm going to share something that Devin Bandison, who teaches at the school, he talks about this, which I love. He said, these are some of the worst things. You know you're not doing stuff when these thoughts are rolling around in your mind. Nobody else knows. Nobody else knows that I'm not sending invitations. Nobody else knows if I'm connecting with people. Nobody else knows if I'm not really doing anything. I love that. So Claire Marie, my current 2 clients I had no expectations. I was just having conversations and seeing how I could help them. It was so liberating, right? So, Cynthia, I'm going to come back to you because in a way, that simplicity is everything, right? What Claire Marie just wrote, that's everything. It's like, if I can just focus on, could I help this person right now in front of me, right now, not later, not on another call, not in another conversation. It's like, what? And that is something I will often say to people I'm talking to you. So if I'm on a call with someone, I'm going to say, look, my objective is that if there's a way that I can help you, that we actually do that today. I want to connect with you. I want to get to know you, but then I want to see if I can help you, right? Like right now, like no waiting. So I offer that, like, I share that with a little hesitancy because some of us can become a little too aggressive in our wanting to serve. So, if you're overeager, remember that makes people uncomfortable, right? It's like nobody wants an overeager, like if Tipa had run up to this person and was like, I want to give your parent a bath. Can I give your parent a bath? Everyone in the room would be like, whoa, this doesn't feel quite right. So we want to come from a heartfelt place, and we want to come from authenticity and genuineness, and we don't want to come from over eagerness, right? Because it just makes people uncomfortable, Heidi, I'm glad. Tipa is amazing, and her team, she has a team of people who help people. So she's already got like a whole thing going on, and so I definitely invite people who are connected to anybody with dementia. Tipa Snow, if you Google her, you'll find her website. And she's amazing. So, okay, Cynthia, can you say more about expanding to a more prosperous, elevated community? I'm noticing that even if I'm focusing on serving, there seems to be financial impediments in the community I'm currently serving. So, okay, so first of all, can we acknowledge Cynthia's gorgeous language there? Look at that sentence. Even if I'm focusing on serving, there seem to be financial impediments in the community I'm currently in. Bravo, Cynthia. That was so neutral and simple and clear. So we have to acknowledge, right? Sometimes we're in communities that there's a lot of lack consciousness in. And I know that because I've been in communities like that. Sometimes that can be when we're in 12-step communities, right? And sometimes that can be other kinds of communities where that's present. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong, right? People in 12-step are often on the first like ladder rung of figuring out how to survive, right? So sometimes finances are challenged. Sometimes their lives are not all that together. So I know coaches who are in those communities, and this is just an example. There are other communities, but they're like, oh, the people I'm serving, they don't have money to pay a coach. And this is not about their abundance mindset. They really don't have money to pay a coach, right? They are coming back from an addiction that might have bled their bank account dry, and it just doesn't make sense, right? So let's use that one as an example. So Cynthia, the way to grow a new community, the way to really do that is to start to put yourself in new situations with new people, right? So for many of us, while COVID is still a thing, it's less of a thing. So I want to challenge people to start to engage in new places in your life, right? So one of the places I often encourage coaches to go be in is the Toastmasters community, because it's a great community. I know many coaches who've ended up with clients from that community, but they also learned how to speak better. So there's a double bonus there, right? But it could be anything. There's a coach in the school who joined a meetup. It was like a meetup for people who doodle, right? Now you're like, what? Is that real, Carolyn? Yeah. There are people who doodle a lot, like not just scratch stuff occasionally, but they do it and it becomes an art to them. So she's a creative person and does a lot of creative art projects. And she went to the meetup and met people who doodle. And she started going every week, right? So you want to go to places that you have an interest in. And that can be virtual meetups. It doesn't have to be a physical face-to-face one, but you got to get out into some new communities, right? So for some people, that's like if you're ready to get back at the gym after many isolated workouts, go to the gym. I think, Johnny, aren't you in a running club? I feel like because you run marathons. Aren't you in a running club? No?
I was, but then I got an injury and I bowed out.
But you used to be. Now, here's my question. Do you think if you hadn't had the injury, would that have been a place where you could connect with new people?
Absolutely.
Great. Now, Johnny went to the running club not because he was trying to get clients. He went because he wanted to get support on running marathons. And being in a running club is a great way to do that, right? So, Cynthia, my question for you is like, what are some things you want to do more of in your life that we can get you out into? Because you're naturally going to meet people doing that. There's somebody I know, she's not a coach. She's an amazing chiropractor on the West Side, but she's super fun and funny. And she like plays, I think it's bridge, right? So she's young, but somehow she plays bridge, and she plays with all these people like that she meets with, right? And they're all these older women, and they all play bridge. And then there's this young chiropractor who's in her 30s. But like, if I played bridge and I wanted to learn how to play bridge, you can be sure, by the way, that I would join a group and I'd probably get a client from that group. Not because that's why I'm joining, but because, as Steve once said to me, Carolyn, you get clients from the gym because that's where you go. I was like, really? I didn't believe him. I was like, you don't think it's the gym? No, it's not my gym. It's that I was there making connections and then starting to serve. So Cynthia, the question's got to be like, where do you want to go out in the world in your life? Or what do you want to do virtually that's new, that's not in the same communities you're in, right? I don't know. I mean, I know Cynthia, just so everybody knows, and she is a former extraordinary costume designer, like big time, films, the whole deal. She's told Johnny and I 8 million amazing stories of the people she has worked with, like the big ones, Tom Cruise, Sylvester Stallone, Robert Downey Jr., like awesome people. I'm like, I don't know, is there some organization for costume designers that connect regularly? You may not want to be with them, but like, I'm like, where can you bring your amazing self and have some fun in a community that you want to be in, right? So I'll give you an example of something that I'm going to do in a couple of weeks. So my husband surfs and he learns all sorts of new stuff. And he learned about this work by a guy who does, it's called like ocean warrior work, right? I don't know a lot about it, but my husband was like, you want to go do this? It's like a training with him. He's a coach, and you learn how to like breathe and deal in stressful situations. It's all like a mental breathing technique. And I think they're going to flip me over in the water. I know I'm going to be terrified. This is like, that's not like what I naturally go and do just for fun. But if I wanted a client, I can promise you, if I was like, I really want a client, I want to go do something new, I'd be going to things. And I'd be like, okay, but now I can promise you, I will connect with people there. I'm not really in the game of getting a client, but if I will connect, because that's what I do, right? I'm going to serve if I can. I won't be helping people flip over in the water, but I'm going to serve, right? So ask yourself, what do you want to be doing? If you're not doing a lot in your life right now, if you're like, I sit at home, I work out online on my Peloton, I see a friend for coffee occasionally, and I don't have enough clients. Newsflash, got to get into your life more. We have to be out serving in the world. It's the only way this happens. Cynthia, I've been devoted to the global community of Bright Line Eating. I have a client from that group, and there are more prosperous PCs to be had in there. Okay, great. So the question then becomes, how do you get more into that community and connect more with people? So that's an option. And let us know if that's helpful. So we want to make sure that that is helpful in terms of, like, I don't know what else they offer, Cynthia. I don't know if they do other events that you can attend virtually. I don't know if there's like a live meetup group in Los Angeles where people from Bright Line Eating actually go physically meet each other. If they do, I would encourage you to do it for sure. All right, we have 15 more minutes, a little bit more. We have like 19 minutes left in this Facebook Live. Who has something they want to ask regarding what does it mean to thrive versus survive as a coach? I don't mind talking. It's not that I'm against talking, but I also want to make sure you get served, right? Remember, my thing is I want to help you today. So I'm open to client questions. I'm open to, I didn't see a ton and maybe I'm just missing them. Did everyone else share what experiment that they're going to be running between now and next week? I know that DDA put one in there. I want to see, are there other people who shared their experiment? How are you going to run a new experiment in your business? Another option is, how are you going to be 5% more consistent in showing up for your business? What's that going to look like? All right, I'm getting a note from Johnny about something, Kyle. My experiment is going for 5 enrollment conversations a week. That is fabulous, Kyle. That is awesome. Fabulous experiment and a fabulous way to be consistent, right? That was my goal, by the way. So when I was in the first 1 to 3 years of full-time coaching, Michelle and I were like 5 conversations a week. That was what we were going for. DDA, I want to increase my income each month. That's fabulous. So DDA, you might think about this. One of the things that I did is I was like, how can I add 1 new client a month? How can I add 1 new client a month, right? Because what does that mean? If I'm having, I don't know, let's just make it up, 3 conversations a week. That means out of 3, 6, 9, 12, if I'm having 3 conversations a week, I am going for converting 1 of those into a client. Just 1. Now, the game, though, is serving. Like when I would be like, oh, I need more clients, and Steve would say to me, how many conversations are on your calendar? How many? And I'd say 3. I have 3 in the next week. He said, they're right there. Those people are right there. Your job is to serve those people and be with them as much as you can. Don't start jumping ahead to how do I create more conversations. It's like 3 conversations on your calendar. You want to be with those people. If they have a website, you want to look at their website and find out more about them. You want to find out stuff about them. Sometimes before a conversation, I'll write to someone, I'll say, hey, before we talk, is there anything you want to share with me about yourself that you haven't shared up until now? Now, if it's someone I don't know, I might do that. If it's someone I know, if it's like a friend that I'm offering time to, that's different. But I want to be creating the deepest conversation I can. right? So it's like I might say, hey, if there's something that you want me to know about you before we talk, please send me a long email. Don't edit. You can share anything you want. It's all confidential, right? That can yield a beautiful email where someone already starts to feel seen. Diana, I am experimenting with sending connection emails to higher level executives, hallelujah, that I used to work with in a different capacity. That is fantastic, Diana, because I know what you used to do, and I know those people are totally appropriate for you. So I am thrilled to hear that. I can't wait to hear how that goes. Allison, reaching out to high achievers that I feel are out of my league. Allison, can you share a little more? Like, give me an example of a high achiever that you feel like is out of your league. Just so, Diana, I know her background. I know less about yours. So I want to, hear about these high achievers that you don't think are in your league. Chin, hi, it's good to have you here. Carolyn, how do you convert these conversations to coaching opportunities? I'm good at making connections and offering service, but I'd love to know more about how you convert. That would be the experiment I'd like to run. I love that. It's a great question. First of all, Chin, I want you to know there were many that I did not convert for a long time. Johnny, was that true for you? Yeah. So when we're newer in the game, converting can feel a little daunting. Like, really? I'm lucky if someone would talk to me, let alone turning them into a client. How does that work? So I want to say that so that if there's pressure inside of you, that we loosen that up, right? We want you to feel relaxed. Now let's play a game, Chin. If you were going to serve someone, right? So one of the things you can do is offer someone more time, right? Because usually, especially when we're in the earlier part of growing a practice, it can take more conversations to get to meaty stuff. It can take more conversations to move the needle, right? As we get better at being a coach, then we can move the needle in shorter amounts of time. But for me, when I was starting out in the first 3 years, a lot of times it was called, would it be helpful if we had another conversation? Like, would that be useful to you? Right? And then, Chin, the thing you might want to think about doing is if someone says, yeah, I would love to talk again, say, okay, so would it be okay with you if I gave you an assignment between now and our next call? Would you be open to an assignment? Now, what am I doing there? Well, I'm slowly changing the context, right? It's like, oh, wow, an assignment. This person's going to give me an assignment? Okay. That helps to move it out of, this is just someone who talks to me, who's really nice, right? It starts to show, no, coaching, the objective of coaching is to help you move something in your life, inside or out. So Chin, you can be like, yeah, I want you to read this article between now and our next conversation. The article has to be relevant to what it seems like they're working on, right? Or it can be, I want you to watch this video. If I send you a 20-minute video, do I have your word that you will watch it between now and our next call, right? So I'm starting to establish myself as the coach in the conversation by saying, do I have your word that you will watch this video between now and our next call? Great, I absolutely will. Okay, great. So I'm going to send it to you within the next 24 hours. When do you think you'll watch it? Oh, I'll watch it by Friday. Okay, that's great. Will you send me an email letting me know you've watched it and tell me your 2 top takeaways? Tell me your 2 top takeaways. Okay? So put in the chat, like, what are you hearing me do? What are you noticing, everybody, and what I'm saying, right? And I'll start to talk about that, right? Like, I'm creating some accountability, number 1, right? I'm then saying, okay, when are you going to do that? And then I'm saying, will you tell me your 2 takeaways, right? When we're in a regular conversation, I don't say to my friends, hey, you know what? Would you watch this video if I ask you to watch it? And then will you send me an email with your 2 top takeaways? They'd be like, Carolyn, leave me alone. You're my friend. What are you doing? Like, we want to distinguish coaching from, yep, see, Chin, I've been in friend identity. That's the thing that gets in a lot of coaches' ways. And it gets in a lot of coaches' ways who tend to be newer and still learning how to create themselves as a coach in the conversation, right? So some of this is people won't know. Like, what if, I don't know, this person talks to me, they seem really nice. We want to do more than that, right? Steve says it this way. He says, you know, we're not doing friendship light or therapy light or friendship plus, right? We're not doing therapy light or friendship plus. That's not what coaching is. Gareth, yes, I'm being direct, I'm being explicit, but there's room in there, right? Like, I'm not being like, you're gonna do this, right? You know, that's Johnny was out of the Tony Robbins school of coaching, and like, I don't know, I imagine Tony Robbins being like, you're gonna do this, and like yelling, right? And then I don't even get to go like, but wait, I can't, I've got a major doctor's appointment, right? So it's like, would you be willing, right? I'm saying, would you be willing to do this between now and our next session? Would you be willing to send me an email? Can I count on you to do that? Do I have your word? I'm starting to show them this is what it means to be accountable in this kind of relationship, a coaching relationship. Some people just thrive when that starts to occur, right? They're like, oh, she gave me something to do. Here it is, Carolyn. Oh, yeah. And that's also a way for you as the coach to start to see and to test, is this someone who really wants to be coached, who's open to it, who's hungry, right? I don't want to work harder than the person I'm talking to. I don't want to be like, and I have this to give you and I have that to give you. And they're like, yeah, I didn't get to it. I didn't even look at it. I don't want to take it personally, but I want to note it. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, they may not be ready, right? They may say something, but if the audio and the video don't match, like they gave their word and then they were like, oh yeah, I didn't do it. You know, I want to just note it. Maybe I'll talk to them a second time, but after that, it might be it. Because it's like, it's not time yet for them. It's not time yet. So, exactly. Right, Jen. I was doing this the last time. Would you be willing to check your calendar? Right. Totally. So that is just like some of the ways to start to lean into creating a stronger sense of yourself as a coach in a conversation, right? Allison, I'm thinking of thriving in all our life, not wanting to change the direction too much, but considering the profession is based on listening. How do you manage listening outside the coaching space with family at set? Folk I struggle to listen to most are my family. The standing joke is, if you want dad to listen, you have to pay him. It's a funny, I love it. It's funny. Johnny's laughing because he's a dad. So Allison, it's a great, I so appreciate you saying that and you being honest. Some of this is asking yourself, am I of service to my family? Am I of service to the people that are closest to me and who I love the most, right? One of the most extraordinary coaches who's going to teach at the school this year, Sandy Sullivan. She's an extraordinary coach, and she does a whole body of work with leaders, almost exclusively in corporate. And she really is, hands down, like the best corporate coach that I know. And in the work that she does within the Alchemy Group, that's the company she runs with her business partner, Allie Wick. Both of them have done the school, by the way. Sandy will say, like, is your family getting sloppy? Like, are they getting the sloppy leftovers, Allison? Are they getting the leftovers, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're tapped out and they're getting the leftovers, right? So you want to ask yourself that. And then you want to ask, is that okay with me? Is that okay with me that they're getting the leftovers of my best self, right? And That doesn't mean there aren't times where you need a break, right? Like you're putting out a lot. You're obviously in a full-time job trying to create yourself as a coach. So this might need to look like a real conversation where you say, you know what, you're right. Sometimes you're getting really crappy leftovers of my heart and of my listening, and that's not okay. And maybe one of the ways we can do this is like when you want me to listen, I need to be straight and say if I'm really available or not, right? And it's like, and then Allison, if you're not, which is okay, right? If you're like, I'm tapped out, right? My daughter knows when I have like just an empty look on my face and she's trying to tell me something, it's like, I can see her starting to get irritated and I'll be like, oh yeah, you're not getting the best of me. Let's do this. I need an hour, like, so I can go recharge. I need to go handle some stuff. Can we make an agreement that tonight you and I will sit together for 15 minutes and I want to hear everything? So Allison, you can do this. And it's a matter of really getting clear, when can I recharge myself so that my family gets some of the best of me, not the leftovers, right? Because, you know, being a fantastic coach doesn't mean that we're doing a crappy job at home, right? I don't mean to sound crass, so I apologize if what I'm saying doesn't work for people. But it's like, look, I look at that, right? I do a lot in the world. You know, it's like I serve in a lot of ways, right? When the school is happening, right? I'm in a lot of service, right? Do I want my family, my husband and my daughter to be like, ugh, when she's in the school, she's horrible. She's horrible to be around. She's mean, she's grumpy. And, you know, it's like, that would not be okay with me, right? It's like, so I watch that, right? It's like, I look at when the school is running and I come off of a class session, right? Sunday's my rest day. They know I'm not at my best, but I can't not be at my best for the next 3 weeks with them, right? It's like, I need to take care of myself so that I can help take care of others. So Allison, I so appreciate, like, please, everybody, let's give him a big, you know, heart, applause, thumbs up. I mean, that's courage right there to say, how do I work with this piece in my life, right? And how amazing that your family is willing to say what they see, right? They're clearly okay to tell you, hey, if you want dad to listen, you have to pay him. There's real feedback in that versus they're not telling you what they feel. So let me know if this is helpful. I know you said ouch. And let me know. And let me know if you're willing to take this on, Allison, in a bigger way between now and next week. Let me know if you're going to do a new experiment called, I'm going to be honest with my family when I'm really tapped out and I'm going to make a new agreement. You can count on me tomorrow. We're going to get 20 minutes, you and me. And you're going to have my full attention. My full attention. All right? So we are almost at the end of I Will Survive and Thrive as a Professional Coach. Let me know, like, was this helpful? Did you get some stuff that's going to allow you to go, okay, there's some new things I need to do to create more thriving in my work as a coach, right? And next week is, I think the title, it's based on the song by Jessie B. So it's the song Price Tag, right? And I think I had the title as, It's Not About the Money. Right? So if you know the Jessie B song, Price Tag, if you don't, listen to it. It's a fabulous song. I don't know yet. I don't think I'm going to send out a clip of me singing it. I haven't decided yet, but I don't want to, you know, there's overkill, right? You heard I Will Survive. If you haven't, you can still listen to it by the end of the day today if you want to hear it. It has coach lyrics, I Will Survive. So if you want it, email me or private message me or private message Johnny. He was part of the private team that told me if it was good enough to send. So his standards are high. I will let you know that. And if you're here this time for the first time, last week in the Facebook Live, I shared that there's a new handout that we gave out. I'd want you to watch last week's Facebook Live, but we will send it to you if you write to us and ask for it. And there's something new coming. So I'm working on something new for the future, but I will see you here. Johnny will see you here next week on the Facebook Live, same day, same time. Tuesday, 12 noon Pacific. It's not about the money. We're going to get deep into money and the ways in which you make the price tag more important than service. See you next week. See you later.